registrations for fall ACSL and the Academy League is up. First, you want to start off with the youth registration link, and I'll send this out on TeamSnap, but you should also be receiving these emails from Jim Walker. If you're not, please let me know, and I'll make sure to put you guys on the email list. So I'll send out these links for the fall registration. You want to start off with the 2022 to 2023 youth registration link, and at least register your team there. The reason we want to start with that one first is because that is like kind of like the umbrella that fits into all the other youth leagues or tournaments that you'll end up participating in. So once you fill out the roster there with the coaches, the team manager, and all the players, that will now be your roster. So then when you go and register for the ACSL, if you're going to participate in the ACSL or the Academy League or Central Arkansas Recreational League, when you click on those links, you'll just copy the roster from youth registration, and then that will automatically upload right there and there. And that'll also be true for any tournaments that you end up doing as well. So if you do a fall tournament or a winter tournament or a spring tournament, again, you'll just copy the roster from your youth registration. And whenever you add players, you'll always add them to your youth registration event. Okay. Alrighty, so now I'm going to move on to TeamSnap. Can everyone see this TeamSnap guide right here? But I do want to cover quickly with TeamSnap. If you have any players, I'll just go quickly to our team manager list. So here's all of our team managers and treasurers, and this is similar to whenever you do your team or add a player, right? If you have any new players, just click the green button, and then you can add on players that you recruit over the year. If you are going to remove a player, please let me know, and we'll go into the roster and manually subtract them out from there. I know it's really tempting to just delete them out, but what we don't want is that we just delete all their information completely out of the system, and then that takes rid of all the information that they put in there. So if they do come back, we can still slide them back in whenever we need to, and still keep their information. If you're brand new, for like maybe like the 2015s or the 2014 Blacks, a really cool feature is that you can import players from a CSV file. So if you already have the names, DOBs, emails, phone numbers, you can just go to import players. Oops, wrong one. You go to import players, and you just download their CSV file with their template, and then you can upload all their information, and then hit file, choose it, and then automatically uploads all 15 or 10 players right off the bat. And that's also similar with the schedule. I'm not sure if a lot of team managers know this. I don't know if you know this, Derek. But one thing that you can also do is when you add events, you can import from a file. And so if you have the full game schedule ready to go, you can go right here to download our schedule template, and then there it'll show you like the opponent's name, where the location's at, address. And if you have all that information already to go from another Excel file, because in ACSL, they have that, like you can download the team schedule into an Excel format, copy paste it into that, and then upload it there, and it automatically uploads all of your 8 games or so onto that. So it's a quick little shortcut, a little bit more Excel or CSV savvy. I'm not sure if anyone else is like that, but anyways, that's a quick way of doing that one. Or if you want to add just a game, single game, then you just hit here, and then you just go through the whole steps here. You know, the time, opponent, location.
Do that before every game, or we do it at the beginning of the season?
Beginning of the season.
So you give us all of that?
Yeah, you'll have the schedule. So you'll get the schedule from Jim Walker. For practices, I know you guys probably know this, but it's always good to go over this, right? Enter the practice information, date, time, and then make it a repeatable event, and then you can choose a time or a date of when to stop the repeatable event. And you can do that for like a Monday, repeat all through Monday practices to maybe up to December, right? And then do that another one for Wednesday, and then do one for Friday for technical trainings, and that goes year round anyways. So just quick little shortcuts like so, like here, that you guys, would be helpful rather than sitting there making one practice at a time. So I want to make you guys' jobs a lot easier, not harder.
And if you do it far in advance, they can mark the availability for the coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so here's another thing with that, and I'm gonna leave this up to the team managers and treasurers and the teams. But if you go into if you go into manager and go to, I believe it's site preference. Is it here? Game notification, email, site notification. Okay, so it's in manager site preference. Now, if you go to edit, this is a default availability. You can click this on, and whenever you make a new event, it'll automatically mark them as yes. And so then now they don't have to go in and go, oh, I don't need to be there. Now, I did try this when I first came in as when I took over one team, the boys 05, 06 boys, and I was like, okay, it's Premier Soccer. The expectation is that you're always at practices and always at games. So I always came to practice thinking I'd have all 16 players, but then all 10 players weren't there, or like 6 or 7 players wouldn't show up, and I'm like, but it says here you're going. So it has a positive to it, and it also has a negative to it. The expectation at Premier Soccer is that you are there all the time, both practices and game. Now I understand that attendance, 100% attendance, is probably impossible. It's very, very impossible. Like, it's impossible, right? Because there's sicknesses, there's school events, homework all of a sudden gets piled, even though I kind of don't blame homework. I don't blame that one. I say you need to have your homework done beforehand, and you should be able to still go to play soccer and then still have time to do your homework. You might have to sacrifice hanging out with your friends, but you should have enough time to do your homework and still play soccer and still fulfill your obligations. So if you wanted to, you can turn it to that on, and then just remind parents, hey, just if there's an event coming up or games, please make sure that you are available. If you can't make it, then please change your availability to no, and then there's that little bubble that pops up next to it. Click on the bubble and then state your reason why you can't be there. I prefer it this way, but yeah, and if you go through these options, you can find a lot more cool things that will help make your life a lot easier. Like, so for example, I don't think this is the team manager site. It doesn't have our level, which would be competitive, our age group, which is not there, gender, our default home and away kit. You can already enter in white for home, red for away. So every time you make an event, it's already showing up on those events when you play the games. So you don't have to worry about that. So again, another little shortcut.
That didn't work that way.
Just in the league rules,
Yeah.
whenever you're home, you're supposed to wear a white color or a lighter color. Whenever you're away, you're supposed to wear a darker color.
Right.
And so the teams should already know, like, oh, I'm gonna be white or a light color when I'm home, but then when it's lists us as away, then we have to wear a darker color.
Right.
Right? Always bring all 3 jerseys to every game regardless.
Yep.
So then, in case that does happen, well, they can flip on their gray, or they can flip on their white or red or something. So here is what the GOT Sports system will look like on your side. You'll notice that there's a green bar, so that shows that you're in your account. And the one that you'll go to the most is going to be team scheduling here at the top. And then, did I choose the wrong one? Oh, sorry, my fault, sorry. Team management. So team management, and then you'll go to matches here, and then you'll select your team. Well, there's only, oh, Nicole wants to come on in. All right, Nicole Crawford is now joining us. So you'll choose your team. Obviously, as DOC, I have all the teams in here, but you'll have just either one team, or if you're managing multiple teams, you'll have multiple teams in here. You'll choose your team. You'll choose your event. Obviously, it's not the youth, it's not the youth registration event, it's whatever league that you're participating in. So I believe the 2012s participated in the Academy League last year. So I choose the Academy League, hit search, and it should show your entire schedule for the fall season. This is what the public site looks like. So if you're looking for your team, you go to schedule, U9, U10 boys, let's say it's the 2013 boys red, you click on them here, and then it shows your schedule here, and that's open to the public. And there's that export team schedule, and that's where it'll download the CSV file, and then you can technically take that and upload it into your team snap, and then it would automatically upload all your games.
So you have to do it manually one by one?
It's already there. Or you can do it manually one by one.
Correct.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
you do this
So,
one,
So after our team management matches, you'll find, let's say we have a game this weekend, and you'll hit these 3 little dots over here, and then that's where you'll see print match card. And then standard photo, it doesn't matter. It's gonna open up, and what you'll see is the opponent's roster and DOBs, and you'll see our roster and the DOBs. The ones in yellow are club pass players, meaning they're not actually on the team, but they're within our club, and they have been added onto the roster to help that team because I believe for this game, they were short players, and so we added 5 club pass players. So club pass players meaning players within our club, guests playing for another team. These game cards will need to be printed off and brought to every game, and what the referees need to fill out is down here is the goals and the final score, and if it's ACSL match, the proper way of doing it is that the away team and the home team coach has to sign it when they see the scores, and then that game card is brought back to the team managers or the coaches. So each team should have a game card. Technically, it's supposed to be just the home team, but I want to go above and beyond, even for our away games, to have it with them, because if they forget to print one out, and we're the one traveling, let's say we had to travel 2 hours, and they forgot to print out their game card, and now it's like, ooh, what do we do now? And so now you have a referee, 2 coaches thinking like, well, where's the game card? Luckily, there's others. Fail-safe is like roster player cards, which is all in here, which was what we'll set up for you. Those are like fail-safes in case something like this happens. But this is like the one that you want to have for sure printed along with the rosters and player cards.
And it's our responsibility to collect it after the game?
To get it back, or a picture. You can also just take a picture of it as well and store it on your phone, so that way you can see the scores, because then you're gonna take that score and you'll need the information up here, the event code and the pin, and then that's what you're gonna do to enter the scores into GotSport, so that way it uploads the scores into the public site. And going through the team manager guide, we just have a quick overview. There's Shannon and I's email address. Here are all the different associations and leagues that we'll be participating in. Obviously, we're an ASA member, the Arkansas State Soccer Association, which is affiliated with the United States Youth Soccer, or USYS. The younger teams, U8 to U10, will be participating in academy leagues. Depending on the level of the team, they might participate in the Carl or in the ACSL. And then for those Premier Red teams, they'll start to looking at the regional or national leagues. Club names, when you go register, along with the team name, here are some examples. The club name is Legend Soccer Club, and then you'll put the birth year, and then the gender, and then the team color. Really quick, I forgot to mention, red team is our first team, black is our second team, and white will be our third team, or our third tier level team. So that's how you would register your team names. If you don't have a color, let me know and I'll get that clarified. Club communication, when you email Shannon or myself, make sure that you put in your team name along with the question that you have. Whether it's about club pass players, birth certificates, just make sure that you enter in your team name, 07 girls, black, and then whatever your question is. B stands for boys, obviously. G for girls. If it's a C, that means it's a co-ed team. Team manager checklist. So the first thing you gotta do, like I said this before, establish a line of communication with your coach. Figure out what's the best way of communicating, whether that's text message, Team, Snapchat, GroupMe, WhatsApp, email. Figure out what's the best line of communication with your coach that streamlines the best information, whether it's game schedules, practice schedules, or any other information that's going on outside of soccer or in soccer or within the team. This is up to you if you want to decide. I know this was something that got missed last year. I totally forgot about this, but you could set up a Legends team manager Gmail. So the example here that I used was legends08boys@gmail.com. The reason why you would set one of these up is so that you can use that as an email handle to put into with like maybe your PayPal account that's set up for that team. And what's really nice about having that kind of a generic Gmail is that you can then, if you're no longer the team manager or team treasurer in the future, then you can easily just pass that, that Gmail account onto the next team manager or team treasurer. I prefer for someone to set up a team account, or a team bank account at Arvest or any other bank, but you just gotta make sure that you have 2 people on that account. Right? Once you have that team account set up, then reference that, Legends Gmail and use that as your handle. It's for PayPal. I'm not sure if that.
In the past, we had to have like Matt.
Okay, so now here's the other version of that. So this is what I was just talking with Matt about this earlier today. It's like, should we, because I was trying to take him out of the equation.
Right.
Nothing against Matt.
Yeah, too much.
The reason why I was trying to take him out of the equation is because he has to meet with each of the team treasurer and go to the bank separately to go there together, find a time, and then set up the team bank account themselves together, right then and there. Like the bank does not allow one person to show up and another person to show up. Right? Maybe that is one of the ways, but either way, you still have to physically go to the bank in order to set up the account, right? So the way to take Matt out of the equation, team manager, team treasurer, go to the bank together of their choice. It doesn't have to be Arvest, and then they set up the team bank account and use whatever email list they want to use. Preferably not the personal email, but if that's what you do, then that's what you do. But just think about how you plan on transferring it over and over to another team manager / team.
When you set up an account, I would highly recommend you get a debit card. So we use that to pay for all of our tournaments. A lot of times, because the money is already in, we've already got it in the bank, and then we can just, rather than have to wait and send in a check and do everything, we can pay for it and be done immediately.
Yeah.
So,
They've been called
almost, yeah, well, so far, I think they would rather have your card and pay it quickly.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when you go through the full registration link, I was trying to do it today, and if I remember, well, it wouldn't let me because I had to do my background check again. And one thing that you have to remind your coaches, and I'll do the reminding as well, is that in order to get registered, you guys have to have your background checked, CDC, and your SafeSport certified. CDC is concussion awareness, which is about a 45-minute course, and then your SafeSport is, if I remember correctly, do you remember, an hour and a half?
It's a while.
It's a while. If you don't know what SafeSport is, it's essentially just, how would I put this in very light terms? Prevention of child abuse, sexual abuse, bullying, hazing, recognizing the signs and what to do if you do spot this. So even though it's really long, I fully believe that's very important for all of us to take that course so that we understand what's going on and why we have to have people in power still keeping it in check and making sure there's always 2 adults around to just one child by themselves, right? Because if it's one child and one adult by themselves, that is a big red flag. You gotta make sure you have at least 2 adults and 1 child. A first-time team, you'll need to upload birth certificates into GotSport. That's a video that you'll send out to them. And then on top of that, that's only for like U11 and older. U10s and U8s, not necessary just yet because they're not participating in any big state or regional events.
I was gonna say, I don't remember doing that.
And the little ones don't have to either.
Yeah, the little ones,
Okay.
U8 to U10s won't
Okay.
have to, but when we get to U11, if you wanna get ahead of the game, you're more than welcome to.
Not a lot of time.
Yeah, but then also, there's some tournaments may request for that. So then you'll have to have copies of those birth certificates to show when you go do team check-in at the tournament check-in. So that,
Physical copies.
like a physical copy, yes. Yeah, so I don't know what tournament, do you know what tournaments off the top of your head that ask for that? I think it's all the tournaments ask for that.
All of them.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have a binder with
Yeah.
their medical release and their birth certificate and player cards, all of that. And they have to be in alphabetical order, and they have to be front and back, like there's specific ways.
Yeah.
So if you just figure it out now, you don't have to do it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what's
It's-
happening.
But not for the
U11, but also if you guys do any tournaments
If
though.
you do a tournament, you will.
If you're in the Academy League, so our cost for Academy League is actually a lot higher than it would be in the ACSL, which is the U11, 2012 and older. Academy League fee is a little bit higher because they are putting the referee fees automatically inside of it already, so that's why it's heavy on the front end. While the ACSL fees are just $75, which is U11 and older, or 2012 and older, it's just $75. But the reason they do that is because they're not guaranteeing that you're gonna have 8 games. You could potentially have 2 or 3 teams entering into the division, so therefore you'd only have 6 games. So it'd be unfair for them to charge 8 games of referee fees if you're only gonna play 6. So they make that a little more flexible. The last one, Club is providing you with these awesome manager folders. So now in their manager folder, it has the team manager guide, it has a Excel spreadsheet for the team finances, for the team treasurer, and then the last section is the parent packet to help answer any questions about club fees, tournament fees, uniforms, etc. Weekly task list. Like I said before, the club is going to provide the player cards and rosters. We're going to laminate it all for you, the rosters and everything, and we'll have that ready to go before your first game. And the only responsibility you guys are going to have is just the game cards. And again, I put a little video up here on how to print off the game cards. So in case you forget, there's a quick video there. It says it starts at 3:25, so skip the first couple minutes. And then get the game cards or a picture of the game cards afterwards, and then report the scores either Team Snap and in Gatsby. Here are the player cards.
Yeah,
We'll put them in the top left corner with a nice little ring.
Yeah.
It has to be coaches and team managers up front. It has to be in alphabetical order by last name. And then here they are. And then you get stickers for any tournaments that you participate in. If you are going to participate in a tournament, make sure that you register and pay before the deadline. And if it's an out of the state travel, or if it's out of the state tournament, you can click on this link here and it'll take you right to the ASA website for an e-travel form. And you'll just need to fill it out, get it stamp approved from Jim Walker or Marissa Hicks, and then they'll send that back to you, and then you show that to the tournament director that you've gotten approval from your state for an out of the state participation in a tournament. May need to print out medical release forms. So again, here's a step-by-step video on how to do that. When families register through Sport, they've already put in all the information and they've already and they do their signature. So it is now taken care of digitally. And so then you'll go to, I think it's in like roster, documents, IDs, and then you select medical release forms, and then you can print those off and then have those ready to go for when you go to a tournament and have the medical release forms hard copies for. And if you do a club pass player and you want to do it on your own, the 2 pieces of information you'll need: first and last name and the date of birth of the child. And then you'll enter that information into the club pass button, and then that player will pop up, and then you can add them on. Same that you can do it, but then we can also do it as well. So those are just the seasonal responsibilities. Here's a list of attributes and responsibilities throughout the year. I think the biggest piece for me, for club director and as coach, is communication is key to make the team, successful. Lack of communication, lack of direction or orientation creates a lot of confusion and muddy waters, and it's not very, doesn't give us a clear direction on where we're going. So make sure that you're always communicating with the team, communicate with the coaches, making sure that practices are up to date, last minute uniform changes, last minute field changes, or any type of events happen like lightning strikes or thunders. Just make sure that we're always communicating and letting the team know on what the plan is. Again, going back to Team Snap, the messages. So I just put a post up there for the team manager guide, and I'll post up there, or I'll send an email about the fall registration, and you can see all the past emails that we've been sending throughout the last couple of years. So if something gets lost in your personal email, then you can just go to messages, emails, and you can find all the past emails. And that also is true for, I think, alerts? No. So alerts and chats are strictly for the phone app. Right? You can't access it here on your computer. Yeah, I know,
I
right?
always do it on my phone.
Yeah. If you have any cool pictures or something happened at an event and you caught it on video, send it to Shannon or myself, and then we'll post it on the Facebook page to help promote your team, or just to say, hey, FYI, the boys 14 did really awesome in this last tournament, and have a fun group picture of them, and we can put it on our Facebook page. and celebrate those events. Team finances, this is probably the big part, so the team treasurer and team manager really need to work together on this. One of the recommendations that I tell the team managers or team treasurers is to collect $100 up front, especially if you're a new team, so that way you get yourself set for the fall registration. Because the fall registration is now technically up, and the moment you go through it, it's gonna ask for credit card information. So if you don't have your bank account set up, then either check with Matt or you two, team manager and team treasurer, go to a bank, set up the account, and then get a team credit card, and then get the event paid for.
So the treasurer is the one who does those things, like she's the one who gets the teams registered and pays for them? Like.
The team manager will start the registration process, but then we'll need the team credit card from the team treasurer to pay for it.
You'll be communicating a lot with your treasurer, and be like, hey, do we have funds for this tournament is.
When do we register for the fall?
It's coming up, I wanna say for the Academy League, since you guys are a fairly new team, I can get an extension. But I'll at least start the registration process and let Jim Walker know that we are registering your team, you guys' teams.
Is our treasurer?
So again, you kind of read through that. So how to set up a bank account. I think I'll go over the team expense sheet. So I just finished this now, so let me know if there's anything I need to change in this. So here's an example of a team finance or a team fee account or a team fee spreadsheet. I put here in this lovely green box here for the number of players that you have. Let's say, for example, you have 10 players, so you just enter in 10 players. Oops. It'll automatically update for all the other ones. And then here in the total costs, that's where you'll enter in whatever the cost for league, winter league, any referee fees that you may come across, field rental fees. If you guys are traveling for a weekend, then coach and gas and hotel is reimbursed for the coach. And I have the days and the number of mileage, and then also the hotel costs that you put in there, and any other miscellaneous fees that you may have throughout the year. And then so essentially you're just using the green boxes, and it'll automatically update or add up the total amount here, wherever the number of players are that you enter it in. That's, like I said, if you have 10 or 13 players, it'll automatically update over here, and now your team fee or the team fee or player, the fee per player is already updated here. And then just start adding in, someone paid you $50, enter $50, someone paid you $10, then it'll automatically start subtracting and give you a balance here. Alright, so the green box here, you'll have to enter in the players' names, and then whatever the amount that they have already paid. So I've made this accessible to you guys, so all you do is just download it, and then you guys will have it for yourself, and then just enter your team name up on top, and then start plugging it away. So a lot of these links are clickable. You click on those, obviously, and then it'll take you to the step-by-step. And of course, if you have any questions at all, let Shannon and I know, and we'll be more than happy to help you with the process. I know it's a lot of information on the front end, but once the season is going, it's actually really simple. It's just as simple as getting the game cards, handing the rosters and player cards to the coaches and referee, potentially money if you're in the ACSL, and then getting the player cards and the rosters and the closing scores afterwards. So uniforms. Okay, so I just talked with Nick Rossi today, and technically the link is up and live, but there has to be a couple steps that need to be done beforehand on our side. The one thing that we need to do as a club is to go in and get all the roster information of the players, plus their player numbers, and put it into soccer.com. Now, when I started going over this process with Nick, I talked to Matt about that, and he's like, no, don't do that. Because last year, it was just send them a link, choose these two options, and then they can order on their own.
Yeah.
Instead of find their team name, find their kid's name, and then enter, and then go through all the information.
Yeah, you just look up NWA Legends, and it should be
Right.
the kid.
So I'm gonna push back on them, but if it takes too long, I might have to go into soccer.com and enter in all the roster information plus player numbers. So if players aren't registered and I'm going through the Godsport registration, I can't find them and they don't have their player numbers, I can't technically upload it. I do recommend that, it's not necessary, but I do recommend putting in the team budget a blood kit. A blood kit is essentially just an additional 3 extra jerseys, 2 extra pairs of shorts, 2 extra pairs of socks, just in case to have. And the reason we call it a blood kit is that if you get blood on your jersey, well, you cannot play with blood on your jersey, so you have to switch out and put that on. If it's on your shorts, you have to switch out your shorts. If it's on your socks, you have to switch out your socks.
Never had that. That's interesting. That's a good, it's smart if somebody forgets something too.
It's wild that you guys haven't had that.
Never.
It's because we have always had them with the Timbers and the Thorns, so we always have an extra blood kit ready to go. Now, 90% of the chance you don't use it, but the 10% that you do use it is for guest players that come in that we are trying to bring into the club, and they can use the guest uniform or blood kit in the meantime until they go out and purchase their own.
So it won't have a number on it?
I would choose numbers like 99, 98, 97, 96, like the highest number possible.
So the 3 Legends jerseys would be the practice home away, is that right?
Yes.
Gray is practice,
Right.
red is away, white is home.
So just one of each of those for the blood kit, is that what you're saying? The 3 extra?
Oh, no, just one of each, yeah.
One of each.
Yeah. Any other questions? I think that's it. Covered it all. I tried to keep it under an hour and way past. I apologize.
My treasurer just said, oh my God, I didn't know.
On that team snap, managers, you can switch back and forth from managers to your team. So you'll have like 3. You'll have
Yeah.
the managers one you'll
Yeah.
see on there, and then you can switch to your team as your player. And you can also do it as the manager. So I send everything out as the manager. Switch it if I'm marking if my son's gonna be there or whatever. Just so you know, there's all those options on all of it. But if you have questions about stuff, shoot it on there and I'll help. Rather than text me or whatever, just put it on that team snap when I see it all. And we can all help each other. Cause it's one of those things where I forget, I still have to go back to Godsport and play with it.
Yeah.
There's certain things you have to just kind of mess around and play with it until
Yeah.
you can get things clicked in.
Yeah.
It's kind of tricky, but you have to go to that systems Godsport. You know that song.
Thank you all for being on call. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to me or Shannon. Tara is our veteran team manager. Also, Casey Westland is also one of our veteran team managers. So if you ever come across them and have any questions about Godsport, Team Snap, you know, always feel free to ask the other team managers.